Eric on that side to be a bit tanky, but no real true tank coming out for their squad. Cloud9 is going to have to act fast, take control of this game because FlyQuest won't give them an inch. I think Card and Reaper now removing themselves from the stage. They know this match is going to be a good one, and the respect is given. A packed house here in the arena at LCS, and we are about to jump into game for FlyQuest versus Cloud9, a long-awaited, and as you said, the beginning of the season put FlyQuest at possible relegation, and now they're fighting to tie first.
Yeah, and we have been waiting all week for this matchup. We saw the teaser come out on Wednesday. I probably watched it about 15 times at my desk, and then the first series goes 3.5 hours, but finally, we're getting into game one.
Let's make it happen. Hashtag C9 win, hashtag Fly win. As you can participate over on social media, as you participate with your eyes, we're gonna be into game FlyQuest versus Cloud9, game one. Starting off here in week 4. And they're out of the gates.
Right on, and something that has been very effective, surprisingly for FlyQuest, has been Moon's early game, which wasn't expected coming into the season as a fairly criticized jungler. And even though Contracts has been lauded for a lot of his early season success, his XP, like his experience at 10 minutes, has been lowest of the starting junglers in the LCS. So even though he's been coming in and getting some good ganks off and having good team fighting phase, this is a potential place where Moon is going to look to make some things happen, and Contracts hasn't had the best success in the early game thus far.
Seeing too many deep wards, not real vision for Fly, but C9 will be privy to that location of Moon once he approaches his blue buff, being a little more sneaky with the wards, making sure they put him on the camps here for the Eve to keep a track on his route.
Minions has spawned.
Yeah, the calm before the storm for sure. No one looking like they're doing any type of sneaky early game. FlyQuest is trying to take advantage of the Malzahar support, which gives some of the best early game level 1 damage for the jungler. He's going to spawn the Voidlings in there for him, but interestingly enough, they haven't moved over Altec. He's going to be staying with the lane because they're going to try and have their cake and eat it too here. Give Moon the good pull while still trying to hit level 2 first. Meanwhile, C9 with a pretty standard start where the top laner is who helps with the jungle.
And as we begin the game, Pastry did catch up with Reaper after picks and bans to figure out how things went.
Thank you very much. I did get a chance to chat to Reaper quickly and asked him about the Camille pick that they got. Obviously, they're very satisfied to get it versus Balls, and who they didn't think could play it. The one thing for them that gave it away was last week, FlyQuest did ban it away on blue side, so Reaper was fairly confident that they could get it in the second phase of the draft. In general, he thought the draft was very satisfactory, went really well for them, and he's drafted against Thinkard a lot. It was actually their assistant coach last year during Worlds, so he was very confident and very satisfied with the draft. Back to you guys.
It seems like they would be. Sneaky has his engage still after being kind of tucked down. 280 carries. Contract gets his grades. He can be aggressive. A little stop by Smoothie there. Sneaky takes a good amount of damage. Woo. That long lane making it a bit scary for Balls, is losing that much health in the early game.
Yeah, he's got the Corruption Potion, at least for now, so he can sustain up early. And they're expecting Contracts to start red side. If he hasn't visited top lane yet, he's not expecting him anytime soon. So able to be pushed up a little bit with a little bit of educated guessing. Got to be careful about that level 3 Camille, though.
Ooh. Actually not really trying to mitigate any of that damage, either walking straight to the end of that for impact each time. He's getting the best of it. Moon hovering towards that top, just grabbing a bit of control for himself, so the team can work from that top to bottom. We're gonna have to wonder what this Camille would provide for Cloud9, so I'm sure he may spend a little more time in that top lane.
Yeah, well, we've seen a few Camilles in the LCS, and if he does get ahead early, it makes it really difficult on the backline like Altec and High to stay alive later. But right now, the wave is pushing in. Impact would naturally want to go for a ward here, and that's why Moon is here. They're hoping to get a gank off, but it's pretty tricky. Moon's in position. Impact has everything up.
Oh, went for that last CS. Can Balls get the hit against the wall? Oh, he gets the steadfast presence. Impact can't get himself flashed through the kickback as well, and just a few more hits. Impact is going to be going down by the buckler. No, the hit from Moon on the hate spike.
That's about as perfectly the gank could go for FlyQuest. Knowing that Impact has that hook shot and he's going to use it as a crutch for an escape. Balls, I feel like that was his first steadfast presence of the game. catches him out of the hook shot. Impact should have flashed first and then done that second. Couldn't escape. Flash follow by Moon, securing the first blood.
You know, I kind of question Ball's ability to get in and out of that kick from Impact. Really just setting up the lane to say, I'm unhealthy, you can push up, it's okay, and then they jump on him.
Right, Cannon minion up as well, so Impact just gotten caught by the end of that steadfast presence, and Balls was quite low, so
yeah.
If there was any Graves counter gank there, if he was anywhere close in the brush in the side lane, that could have turned around, but FlyQuest with the confidence, decisiveness, and it pays off.
Five minutes in. Looks like the push here from Sneaky. Not too bad onto Altec. The wave is just transferring to the other side. Altec just had Sneaky in the team at their turret, so trading very even here. As the crowd supports their teams early in the game, they want to see the lead. A favor going towards them. And one kill over for Fly here. Will be some pressure into the jungle.
Yeah, both teams. Both teams, same amount of syllables in their names, so when they do competing chants, the let's go and
that's good.
The
you don't
clapping
have to...
is synced. But the team that you're rooting for is completely impossible to hear because they're talking over each other. I like it.
So 45 to 34 here, actually. Seeing Jensen come out on top of this lane to start things off. Usually the Jace is able to just kind of pressure that back caster wave and push you into the turret.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
This is tricky. Jensen is an incredibly accurate Cassiopeia, and especially since he's going to be able to go to his first back to get a Tear of the Goddess and continue shoving in, it's going to be tricky for High to get the upper hand. Notice High actually already down flash, so when there was a lot of action going on earlier, that was pressure already applied. Jensen off to a spectacular start.
What a minion wave Jensen has piled up here. They might be calling for a little bit of help from Moon. If it's not contracts over the wall, they may not be able to get there in time. We will see.
It would be such a risky gank. Jensen a little low on his mana pool as far as full combos, but that's almost too much for Moon to be able to take on at this stage in the game, and they're just going to let that wave crash. High going to pick up a little bit of CS. Maybe then, when they don't have a giant minion wave as well, they could try for something aggressive. Moon would still have to be pretty sneaky, though.
Like welcome over NA LCS 2 as we start off our FlyQuest C9 game. Only 6:47 in, have not missed too much. Besides a nice gank top onto Impact. And now the pressure is being delivered from Altec and Lemonation in the bot lane. A little critter is giving Smoothie hell here. Because they can still get a little bit of sustain. But as soon as that wave starts to crash back at C9, much more damage is delivered by Fly.
Yep, that's the charm of the Jhin Malzahar lane. Pre-6, if you land that Deadly Flourish, the Voidlings just beat someone to near death. And that's how Altec and Lemonation have tried to keep Sneaky and Smoothie pushed in.
Good timing by Contracts, hovering the top side as Impact is in that same position he was for first blood when he got ganked. He knows he can stay up here, seeing Contracts go through the jungle. Goes down the ultimate.
Uh-oh.
Ball shouldn't have too much trouble here. Tactical sweep missing as well. No follow-up. May have been Contracts coming up once the wave pushed in, but they weren't able to apply enough damage.
Yeah, and a pretty dangerous moment in time, actually, for Balls is Poppy with Contracts being in the jungle, but FlyQuest looking to make a move elsewhere. Moon yet to be spotted.
Jensen's like, all right, there's a party mid lane.
Playing it easy.
Lemonation trying to cut him off. And a ward just below. Pretty much helping him out on the way up. Actually, no, never mind. That's Fly's ward, so I don't know what I'm talking about. So we'll see what Jensen can keep doing. Flash up, exhaust up, but we are seeing that Fly is trying to put pressure on him in the mid lane to relieve some for High.
Yeah, and that's really what it is. It's a release valve for High to be able to keep his farm up and hopefully get to the Hex Drinker and Serrated Dirk that he's trying to build up towards. Lemonation also has been doing his fair share of roaming. Gonna win the pink ward battle there. Voidlings OP. Get him! Too slow! Ah!
The lifeguard's worst nightmare, minions. Little ones in the pool. 1-0, 9 minutes up on this game. And forward wards being pushed in by Fly. Got some over by Blue. It looks like you're gonna have a little invade by Lemonation, and Moon's gonna come over and help him out.
Yeah, and this is a response. Moon saw that his blue buff got taken away by Contract, so he's predicting that Contract's blue buff is also going to be up. Like the move, I also like Moon's early Dark Seal here. I think it's an incredibly efficient item that Moon has been building early on almost all of his AP junglers, Nidalee and Evelynn. But they were mostly spotted out here, so Sneaky shouldn't get caught by this gank. If Elimination gets 6, however, it is a lot of burst potential. He's about 80% of the way to level 6 here.
Flashes up. We'll be able to get that in. A little bit of a move from Jensen to get some vision down, but also slightly avoiding. I think that control ward did see him. And he's looking to just clear some out. Moon can't really do too much to him at this point. Phoenix Codex, Tome, stacking that tier.
Yeah, but look at the mid lane control Jensen has there. He pushes off the enemy jungle, gets a shot into the control ward, and then still makes it back in the lane for the mini wave. So he's not killing high, but he's definitely applying a lot of pressure.
72 to 66, pretty even top lane. Balls decides to go
Right
hard on
back.
this one as Impact came in with a few moves. Tactical sweep back. He gets the keeper's verdict, and it doesn't look like he's going to try to get out of this. Impact says, all right, let's fight. Throws down the ultimate. Balls tries to get the buckler out. Shield is up. There's the hit. The Q to the ground causes Impact to flash.
High's coming
and
over.
Here comes the rest of the cavalry.
Gotta land the shock blast.
Shock blast over to the right. This is going to be blind. Does he fire it far off? He just needs a little bit of vision, and a late ward does not allow him to find the target. Impact chooses correctly.
Woo! So that's the Poppy for you right there. Now, just 2 CS down to Impact, had gotten the help from the early gank, but plays that with the confidence to force Impact's flash backwards. Huge credit for Balls just sticking up in that lane.
Fly moving back, making sure the jungle's clear now, as they took a little bit of time to roam around in that. But staying proactive. These roams for high are giving Jensen quite a lead in the mid lane. Jensen's happy to have it. Backing up down to the bot lane, Alltech 105 to 100, so quite even there as we've seen a few scuffles. Just not much come out of it as of yet. Moon so far, only that first blood top lane. And things have kind of quieted down.
Yeah, the tension definitely building in here. A lot of the ways people expect this matchup to go, especially when you're thinking preseason, is that C9's lanes would just be so much stronger than FlyQuest that they're just going to get a massive advantage from there and then be able to kind of fight over every objective. We're seeing a much lesser extent of that. So FlyQuest did get the first blood, but because of the farm advantages in the mid and the top lane, it is still an even gold game, but that creates a very contentious mid game because the gold is completely even and we're still yet to see major engagements.
And there's another phase of this game where both mid laners and callers on the team actually excel, and that's when you get to the fight phase. High's ability to macro the team around the map really has brought in victories to, at the time, Cloud9 and even this FlyQuest squad. So there's many more phases of this game to be opened up here as we see the early game slightly, actually, in favor of no one. Very back and forth on what they're trying to achieve. Top lane sees Moon heading for Impact here. His flash and teleporter down, so if they get him to go down, that's a long walk back to top.
Yeah, and this is actually setting up to be a counter gank right here because Contracts is going to walk straight through. Who will reveal first in this one? Can they get Impact to engage through a minion wave? Because that would be ideal. Moon doesn't want to reveal himself yet. If Contracts could catch him in a dive, that would be massive. I saw him with the plant.
Yep.
They're just going.
Going back, puts down the ultimatum. They can't get actually in range of the turret for the ultimatum. Collateral damage misses for Contracts. High says, I'm going to the skies for this one if he can get in range. Changes forms for a bit of that movement speed. And he's going to Shock Blast finish this off with a few more attacks. And they may have waited, but it did seem to pay off. A 2-for-1 to start. And an arrow back to the bot lane as they almost lose Smoothie in a cross-map engagement.
Yeah, it looks like with the red buff and the challenging smite, Balls just got ticked down, but that was still advantage FlyQuest because even though High is losing in the mid lane CS-wise, the roam up there made the dive safer. He saw exactly where Contracts was. He gave FlyQuest confidence to go in early, and he ultimately secured the 2-for-1.
Just quick armor, looking for the Sunfire Cape right away so he can stay on top of Impact in these fights. There's TP actually to mid lane for Balls to start cleaning that up. He just used it, and we'll see this once again.
Yeah, Poppy already stacking a bunch of armor, so Balls okay tanking his turret. Impact, though, able to just delay. And then here, Balls taking the damage from the red buff and the minions just finishing him off right there.
Pin him up.
Contracts had no way out after this one, so Moon just tries to farm the minion wave and lets High secure the kill. Right.
At the same time, Bot was having a little back and forth. Ooh. Ranger's damage onto Alltech makes him think twice about fighting. Sneaky feels comfortable taking that lane over a bit in CS, so they have found themselves a bit of a lead.
Yeah, really great sidestep on the Deadly Flourish at the end of that too by Sneaky. So early Berserker's Greaves for that little bit of extra mobility paying off. Sidestepping those Deadly Flourishes makes a huge difference in the Jin and Alpha matchup.
Edge of Night finished up for high here. After all the trouble he was getting in one lane, he still finds something outside the lane as Jensen has been pushing him in, bullies him for the last Raptor, gets his tendies, and he's out.
Yeah, so the bot lane and mid lane pressure kind of pushes through to allow Contracts to pick up the first Infernal Drink. And what was not expected when Impact gets Camille, the first turret of the game, has gone to FlyQuest, and Ball's in the top lane, so that will be the reason they have the 1,000 gold lead.
Also pushing up second tier here on the top side, may draw C9 a little
wants to dive.
thin. Good flash by Impact, actually dodges it out. Ultimatum goes down, but Balls can tank for quite some time. And they're gonna make it out alive on this one. They are just attacking the Camille.
Oh, and then they also heavily delay recalls in the bottom side, and just that, they are heavily punishing the Camille. So Pastry Time got to talk to Reaper afterwards, and Reaper was very happy with getting Camille. But when you're looking at FlyQuest and they're throwing bans at Varus and Kha'Zix instead of the Camille and still not first picking it, that just means they have an answer. They have not necessarily had to show it yet because they've even banned Camille on blue side, and it's obviously a very risky thing to opt into, but early on here, Balls has been able to go straight toe-to-toe with Impact. Moon has been able to sneak up there and tilt the advantage in his favor over and over again, and now we have an 0-3 Impact on what many consider the most OP champion in the game right now, so real credit to FlyQuest.
And what's kind of that effect now? What are his chances of still providing what the team needs under these circumstances for Impact?
And you actually think it's fairly low. Camille is one of those champions who, as a diver, needs to be able to go in with a relatively squishy build and just kill the other guy before he gets killed back. And when you're 0-3, that just becomes much, much harder to do.
Options falling off here for Cloud9. Jensen still doing very well in mid, so they can get behind him for what could be some of these counter engages, or a nice arrow to zero somebody out. With the Edge of Nights coming out, those chances may even get smaller. Just some ward clearing, pushing up the vision here. As Cloud9 knows they may have people coming in behind them with the placement of the wards from Fly. Double teleport composition, we haven't really seen it being used yet.
Yeah, definitely not. High potentially taking that teleport just to keep the mid lane turret up in the early game. And now we're into that 1-3-1 usage of the double teleport, and it gets more effective when they have the split pusher of C9 in the hole so much like Impact, as the 0-3 yet to build up major items. So C9 pushing the two side waves, setting up shop mid, 1-3-1.
Interesting. Impact kind of just roaming around that mid lane. Oh, Lemonation found out. Oh, instantly dropped. We talked about somebody getting zeroed out from Jensen, and Lemonation finds out what that is all about. Looks like they will slow down though. Impact to clear top. That gotta feel good.
Scary Jensen right there. The unassisted kill in the river. Also had the QSS. Lemonation, you can see, had a channel of his ultimate right down there, so not sure if it cast right as he died. I believe that's what would have happened there as he ticks out to the poison. Just Jensen being ahead in the pressure game and getting the pick on Elimination while he's trying to ward.
High being able to play a bit horizontal to the lane there as you see his wards inside the jungle. Pushes Jensen off until he gets another minion wave.
Balls just wins this 1v1 now with Sunfire Cape, Ninja Tabi, and Dasheen, so Impact's got to run.
In a pile of minions still taking this fight. It doesn't even matter at this point. Contracts coming down towards the bot side. High might have find himself in a sticky situation.
It's pretty risky because Graves could be close, but it's whoever can pile in first.
Oh, hello.
Edge of Night is going to help.
75% of his health coming out with 2 skills. Over the wall. High puts himself melee range into even more of a fight. And he may just come out alive from the burn. And he does.
And Riv High with the solo kill onto Jensen in the side wave. And that's huge for FlyQuest because he can now push up. There's 2 dead. Balls already has pressure on the other side. This could be either an inner turret, as there's no way C9 can defend everything at once, or the outer in the mid lane.
We wondered when it would happen. The Fly hung around in the bot lane for quite some time with enough vision. Solo kill onto Jensen, kill into Contracts to follow up, which means C9 is spread more thin to guard this. Let's see it again.
Yeah, High just hiding in the fog of war. Full damage shock blast while he had Edge of Night. Jensen exhaust late because he didn't expect the incoming burst due to vision. Then the rest of FlyQuest is there to support High as Contracts tries to go in for the save. Just a flurry of moves by FlyQuest to pull ahead.
Might have been down 30 CS in lane. But High can find those advantages somewhere else. Top side and now bot. He's given himself a bit. Edge of Night and now Youmuu's finished. Moon picking up red. Looks like they're trying to get some turrets down on the side of C9. They need a bit more map pressure because it's just going to be Fly being able to put so many deep wards in. They're going to have members coming around them.
And Riv, FlyQuest is in such a powerful position right now because normally you could say it's the all physical damage solo lanes, just stack armor, but C9 doesn't have the champions, aside from a Terek who is with Mercury Treads to CC, that are capable of stacking armor. Sneaky caught out!
Well, if he has Merc Treads, let's go for the AD carry.
They're just gonna keep going, maybe.
Sneaky out, Smoothie getting hit. Impact has to come back. That may give Balls a chance to get a tag onto the wall, but they break enough distance, and FlyQuest using this advantage beautifully now. Last outer turret is down in the second tier is not long for the Rift.
Yeah, the double Edge of Night as they're pushing the turret to ward off the counterattacks, landing the poke with a lethality onto the people who have yet to build armor since it is not in their build paths. Conveniently, the Infernal Drake spawns now as well. FlyQuest taking a ton of control.
And they almost can't fight back from the side of Cloud9 as much as Impact wanted this Camille in the top lane. I feel like FlyQuest said, that's what we want too, and then we're going to focus it so it can do nothing.
This is such an early performance from FlyQuest in this best-of-3 series because this is a Cloud9 team who, while they have dropped 3 games throughout the regular season, have yet to drop a series, but down 6,000 gold, 21 minutes in. Advantages in the top lane for FlyQuest into that Camille, and Moon on the Evelyn, which no one else is picking in the NALCS. 9 stacks on his Dark Seal and fully completed Gunblade. They're going to look to take over this map in the same way they got the first advantage.
And I feel like that's such a benefit when you speak about Moon. You have these guys that can pull out champions that a team doesn't, want to waste the band on. Is it a waste anymore? You take away his Evelyn? It might be, because then you get Kha'Zix, you get that Rengar if it's not on the ban list. So having those champions, especially with the way that Fly can flex, has done so much in Champion Select.
Yeah, absolutely. You think there's all these ways of attacking FlyQuest in the ban phase, and this one, they threw their second phase of bans at Balls with a Maokai and a Rumble. He's completely held his own against Impact's Camille, playing the matchup the way he needs to, getting pushed in early and then setting up the ganks, preventing the hook shots elsewhere. Now just trying to take control of the jungle and ultimately set up some Baron plays.
Yeah, Contract's trying to clean up top or at least protect it. At this point, haven't seen too many engages from him. And you won't see another one as he's engaged on. Jensen comes in. That should be Elimination going down again. Exhaust for Exhaust. A few more Twin Fangs to his backside, and he is out. Keeper's Verdict throws Terek out of the fight, but they have already thrown down the ultimatum. And they also get Balls.
Yeah, misfire there by FlyQuest. High actually hit Krug.
Ooh, the sweep.
With his Q, and Impact closing that distance, trying to push this advantage with 2 dead.
Good Edge of Night by Altec, keeping himself up. Possible protection here, but there's just too much power.
Rune is behind them right now, hoping to maybe pick them off with scattered recalls as High is looking to push the top side. He doesn't want to fight all 5 of them, but boy, will he try and take a pick if he sees someone by themselves,
Moon.
like Sneak.
There he is. Moon just... Oh my God! Agony has embraced Sneaky. And Moon comes up huge with a flash attack. This completely has Cloud9 call the audible as they scatter to figure out what happened, and High can just sneak his way out.
That's the burst of the Gunblade build with Runic Echoes on Evelyn. Moon knowing exactly what he is capable of, hiding behind the entire C9 team, and then killing Sneaky before Sneaky can even react.
That's pretty sneaky.
Oh my goodness, that makes up for FlyQuest's mistake.
And he got it too. You're sitting there and you're like, somebody's got to peel off. I'm going to get, that's got to feel so good when it goes in your favor. You're just basically reading the other team and everything is going in your favor. We do have to remember that was off a bit of a fluke that FlyQuest just had where Moon was able to set that up. So Cloud9 still able to bite back a bit, but Moon biting back harder.
alt for the percent damage, and then all of the buttons after that instantly kill Sneaky.
So catch me outside.
He got him.
8-4. We're coming up on 25 minutes here, and FlyQuest making a pretty big statement. As we said, they did just make an error, but I don't think that will slow them down at all from making a next move. The second tiers are gone, and now they can jockey for this Baron to work the other side of the map too.
Absolutely. They just need to make sure that they don't have any misfires. Cloud9 definitely capable of playing from behind. They just haven't been able to get the tempo lead on FlyQuest ever since the very, very early game. FlyQuest strike first with the first blood. They continue to make more of the plays. They're controlling the vision in this game very well, actually, even though they only have one upgraded sweeper. But they're constantly the ones catching C9, trying to catch up.
High again, yep, towards that bot lane. They're going to pull Impact over. He does have the Triforce finish, but Moon creeping in the wing. And we'll see if Impact actually tries to go for this fight, even to just push off High. You can see that Impact mentality of saying, okay, aggression, but these little things could really get them in trouble if they try for it. FlyQuest seems to be ready for everything. Jensen backs in mid on safety of a control ward here to set up more defense.
I mean, Moon building towards a Lich Bane as well, so he's really just trying to keep that one-shot build from the shadows.
They almost got him on it. Impact want to go in.
Yeah, Moon saved his ultimate right there, but this is a lot of damage. A third of the turret right there already taken down, and High respect flashing away from the Camille hookshot.
Already used his Edge of Night. It's a little too scary. And here now, High playing the bot side. Moon isn't towards Baron, so obviously just kind of warding up for position. Balls could get himself into trouble here. Nobody's going to jump on him too fast. Teleport to the top side for High. They're going to try to make something work here.
Moon's around the side. He's going to try and flank everyone with an Evelynn ult if they can get it.
Agony's Embrace would stop them immediately when they get to that base gate. The team may not
Moon.
be following enough. He just breaks the edge so he cannot be seen through that vision. So Moon is still actually openly walking in the mid lane here. No more knowledge to Cloud9.
Moon does have to watch out if he opens up onto Jensen, because Jensen has the QSS, which helps with the magic resistance, and also the ability to petrify Moon and return the kill, since Moon is going an incredibly squishy build.
Looks like they stop on that one. Nobody really liked their chances on the engage. That last hit, we saw High teleport up, but his flash is also blown, so those both summoners will be down for a while. He's probably going to have to stick with the team. Cloud9 loses maybe a little pressure on that split push for now, but C9 still cannot approach them in an uncontested Infernal. Over to Fly.
Yep, trying to maintain control of this game, but the plays have slowed down for FlyQuest for sure, showing a lot of respect for Cloud9. Still that 6,000 gold lead looms large. C9 is going to have to find something creative to be able to get back, whether that's Jensen creating another play by catching FlyQuest during warding, or if it's Sneaky catching someone out with that Ash Arrow, because while they do have Edge of Night, no QSSs, no cleanses, no Mikhails. Catch a squishy champion with the Ash Arrow, C9 should be able to pick up the kill.
As well, it's getting a little scarier as Impact continues to farm up. He's still going to be able to help zero somebody out or get that ultimate to prevent FlyQuest from helping a member with the ultimatum. Keeping them locked down. So we've yet to see really Impact do just that on this game. He's been farming away in the side lanes. Does have his Tiamat in that Triforce. He's almost to his next core items. Iceborne now for balls as well, so it's going to be harder if Fly does get these engages for Cloud9 to even get away.
Yeah, I mean, Balls is at a point where he can still dual Impact quite easily, which is really hampering C9's abilities in this game, because ideally on the Camille, you're winning the 1v1s, you escape the 1v2s, and you can rotate faster to execute the squishies, but that's just not working. C9 going hard though.
Whoa,
on the High.
They said they wanted to try and get something here. High, and the end of the ultimatum is going to go down. Moon takes down Sneaky on the backside though, so Cloud9 scatters, and this is where Fly flourishes. Smoothie gets hit. That's the last hit as the curtain is called. Contracts is a focus, but Jensen could go down first, and that's the pressure they want away. Impact very low. One more hit from Balls, but it's not a follow-up damage. Blast Cone saves Jensen. He's able to fire over the wall now. Alltech, one last Fang, dies to the poison first. And what a scattered skirmish. 3 for 3 so far with just about.
They want more. He's going to keep going.
1,000 HP. Impact looking for the passive shields. It just comes up. Trades a beautiful amount of health and keeps himself alive.
Woo! We got ourselves a game, Riv. That fight was such a hard commit by Cloud9. Terracult with Camille to get rid of the squishiness factor comes in at just the right time. They kill high, but then watch the back line. Goodbye, Sneaky, because the rest of C9 decided to move their protection forward instead of in the back. And then it is all about the chase. And watch this C9 kiting. Jensen looked like he was dead to rights here, but he pops his Seraph's Embrace. He's landing his skill shots for the enhanced move speed. He's positioning himself on the right side of the blast cone so he gets knocked back from that. And this whole time, he's putting the right amount of damage through. And at the end of it, they actually come out of this as a 3-for-3 despite being down 6,000 gold at the start of the fight.
Whole lot of shock blast damage coming from High. But as we said, if there was a factor, Jensen controlling the mid lane, causing High to have to go to side lanes to get those 2 kills he has. Jensen's able to get that CS lead, in lane item lead, and now start to control it with kills as the right fight comes up for Cloud9. Still 53.5 to 43.4. Fly has the lead of turrets around the map, but that only means Cloud9 has some gold to work with if they're able to get the upper hand. Minion waves in favor, I'd say right now, of Fly before Cloud9 can really put some damage back on the turrets.
Yeah, and Sneaky being forced into an early GA on his Ash, really diminishing any of his damage. They're going to be relying a lot on Contracts and Jensen, actually, since they do have the marksman out of the jungle. Sneaky mainly going to be used for his utility and the CDR he's getting from the Essence Reaver on his Ash arrows.
Moon 7-0-2, 9 out of the 11 kills he has participated in, and they're going to try to burn it.
Yeah, they have the controller down, so the Hawkshot will reveal them, though. C9, though, is going to be pretty late to this. Ash arrow goes in.
Arrow in, a hit Altec on the backside. The team's not trying to get their contracts locked down by Nethergrass. That's going to be Moon's Baron, but the resulting fight has to be in favor of Fly for this to work. Terracult stops any of the damage in the pit. C9 comes up big on that one. Now Camille, the impact follow onto Balls. FlyQuest going for the Baron while already having a bit of the lead, have overextended themselves and given that to C9.
And these are actually really long death timers, Riv. 36 seconds on Moon, 30 on Altec still, and a cannon minion in the way. Boy, C9's gonna get a lot of objective out of this.
We've seen a lot of those calls from FlyQuest be the right one. But as we said, as they said, we're C9 as much as we aren't C9. And obviously Jensen knew they were making that call, 12 to 11. Cloud9 comes up with Inhibitor and smart calls to pressure the Baron.
A few more seconds and they may have been able to end there if they would have decided to go for it. But watching this again, very risky haul by FlyQuest, and they burned so much preventing the steal, but a Taric ultimate in the Baron pit, oh my goodness. Moon lands his ultimate, but it does nothing into the invulnerability. FlyQuest can't fight back until it's too late. Impact had been able to jump over onto the FlyQuest people who really wanted the kill and then get some revenge, slowly whittling down Balls as Poppy and getting the double kill.
Well, Impact getting himself back in this game for being smushed in lane, doing the most damage in that team fight.
Yeah, he got unleashed on the back line. There was no one to really keep him in check, and if C9 is going to continue to be able to rely on Smoothie for that Taric ultimate and give Impact that free time to really just unleash his damage, not to mention Jensen, who has been stellar this entire game, aside from that one weird brush play where High caught him out in the side lanes. C9 on their way back here, closing that, what was 6,000 gold lead to 2,000, but FlyQuest is not one to wait around.
Curtain call, Sneaky gets hit.
Taric ult.
Should be all right. Whoa, Impact's in. Bastion and the Taric ult is on. They keep going for the back. Whoa, what a huge hit coming in on a Cloud9. Beautiful job by Moon. Balls is in there as well to try and stop them from getting back. Lemon Nation gets hit up by Impact as he's looking again for that back line. A kill, and it is distracting Fly to have to look over to him. Impact all the way into the fight, and the team can't respond. Moon's gonna be next. Contract with the flash out, but that leaves him out to dry. Double kill coming in for Contract before he goes down valiantly, and it does leave the team. The re-engage, the counter Cassiopeia comp that C9 is trying to use does just that. One more Fang they put down High, and that's gonna be the game.
It could, yeah, they're only 2,000 gold down, but they have supers in the mid lane already, Riv. What a comeback by C9 right there, clutching another team fight. And you're right, C9 is gonna take this 1-0.
Absolutely. striking for C9 to come back, knowing they were down, knowing they had to pull the trigger. Game 1, only 34 minutes in. Lemon Nation getting out to do what he can. They got the minions to get the kill. They also have the time to get another one onto Lemon. And they're going to take their time taking down this Nexus. Both teams are going to take their break as Cloud9 comes up with a win in Game 1.
And with all the hype coming into this series, Riv, that game definitely delivered. You saw on the player cams there, High trying to shake this one off because it is rare you see a High-led team, and specifically FlyQuest this year, jump out to such a big lead, but then not be able to close. So huge credit to C9 for being able to fight back, team fight after team fight in that game, take down High, and take a 1-0 lead in the series.
6-1-8, Jensen. Flame Horizon in the mid lane on High by 20 CS. We did see him moving around. Fantastic. I should say by 80 CS after that, but
yeah, I mean, still
fantastic.
Huge CS lead the whole game, and really, FlyQuest never quite got onto Jensen. They were killing Sneaky a lot, but they were never able to get onto Jensen, and eventually Sneaky got that GA at the end of the game. I want to see the damage graph in that game as well, because I feel like it'll have a few surprises in there. Moon, with the 7-0 start, couldn't quite make it into those final team fights. The Taric came up so huge in their ability to actually clutch out those team fights and fully dive in at the end of the game.
It worked well, because you don't expect Taric to be that kind of, I'm denying this assassination. It takes a little, and then it pops. But with that, there weren't many quick assassinations unless Moon had one target. So those targets live, then High is already to the skies. He's meleeed in the fight. Moon's in there, Poppy's in there, and the back line is saying, wow, well, mid-lane did not go how we wanted it.
Great first game.
We're going now to throw it over to the Freak and the Analyst to break down that comeback win for Cloud9.
Thank you very much. We're here to break down the awesomeness that just occurred. That was a pretty compelling game, absolutely. Azael, welcome here to the Analyst desk.
Hey, bud.
Of course, yeah. You guys are, of course, of comparable skill. So let's talk about the fact that it's an earlier joke. You won't get it.
It's an insult.
It's okay. Anyway, sorry. The team comp, though, was kind of interesting. In the draft, FlyQuest on the blue side gives away Camille. They want Jhin for it instead, and they have a plan, essentially.
And they actually had this plan earlier in the season when they played Echo Fox, the one series that they have lost so far. And Echo Fox flexed the Camille, so we didn't even get to see this plan come into effect. But here we see what it is. You have the Poppy and the Evelynn used to camp the Camille right away, and then in team fights you hopefully can lock it down or something like that. And I think it looked pretty good overall. I actually liked what they were doing. It would have been nicer if they could trade for a stronger OP pick, so the fact that they only got Jhin, I didn't really like. It would have been nice if they got the Varus or something like that. But
well, they banned out Varus.
Well,
right?
that's that's what I'm saying. Is like my only problem with it is that what you really get that was OP. It's just the Jhin, which is a little bit of a problem for me.
Yeah, that's fair. And then, of course, the top lane camp did pay off a bit, though. We have a couple of clips of all the effort Moon put on the top side. And to be fair, that did work out quite well. This is the first blood to start it out.
Yeah, I mean, it did work out really well. But one thing that Mark was talking about throughout the game is the fact that Camille has so much room to kind of come back in a game. Even though he gives up first blood, even though he was continuously getting killed, they were roaming top nonstop and taking him down, Impact was still able to have a big effect in the game. And it does speak a little bit to his play, but also to the strength of the champion.
Right, and I mean, Balls, to his credit, also played the 1v1 fairly well throughout the entire game. This dive, a little misplayed by C9 in my opinion. You really, they are getting pressure in two lanes, but you have to cover one of the two, and just farming the Krugs nearby is not good enough. And then they continually punish Impact once he's behind.
And Impact honestly didn't look super comfortable on the champion, so the ultimate actually gives you a little kind of window of vulnerability where you can actually immune abilities. So a very telegraphed ability like the Poppy stun against the wall, an experienced Camille player should be able to ultimate that and not only avoid the stun, but like avoid the
entire ability
too, right? So something like that makes a huge difference in dives like that. And Impact did look a bit uncomfortable, even avoiding the first blood. He probably should have flashed before he tried to use his E to fly out of there to make it more difficult for Balls to actually block that. Balls would have then had to really quickly flashed and heroic presence to stop it. So there's things that you can see. Impact's not fully comfortable with the champion, and obviously FlyQuest had a plan around this, but long run it didn't pay off.
And it wasn't just obviously Balls and Moon playing well. High as well made a lot of roams early. He made the first roam down to the bot side as well as the top side to get the kill, and then push down the first turret of the game. And so even though Jensen was winning laning phase, High was doing High things, just getting all over the map and impacting the rest of the game.
Yeah, and of course Jensen kind of stayed in lane. He got turret damage. He got a ton of farm and ended up being one of the major carry forces. which leads us to our next replay, which is the fact that, there have been a lot of interesting dynamic calls, but this was a bit of a flop by FlyQuest.
And the big thing for me is that they had to blow so many resources denying the Baron steal attempt by Contracts that they don't have enough left to fight. They used the Poppy ult and the Malzahar ult just on Graves alone, and then they're caught in the pit with no defensive things available.
And to me, a fight like this showcases so well the power of the offensive Taric ultimate, right? When you're using it reactively, oftentimes it doesn't actually land before that vulnerability comes out. But when you have a hyper carry like Cassiopeia, played by Jensen, who's very fed, you give him the immunity as he's going in aggressively, and he can go wild. People cannot return fire, and they're able to just devastate them in the Baron pit. And really, it was a super risky call.
Yeah, and imagine if you had a 3-man Poppy ult and Ball just kicks them all right back out. Like, that's cute. The Tarics made them invincible, but 5v2 good off our Baron turf, and this is kind of the tournament that we had. So you can see the damage numbers here, right? Plenty coming out from Moon, of course, High doing a ton as well, but no surprise, the biggest damage source from C9 was Jensen himself on that Cassiopeia.
And I'd say overall this game played out totally to the hype that we were giving to this series. We see a crazy draft come in from FlyQuest. They executed extremely well. They're doing crazy different things, but then we see C9 is an extremely stable team. They take them on the jaw and they keep coming. Even though they lost a number of fights, they continue to look aggressively. We saw Impact, despite being shut down, going in first with Camille, and like you said, the offensive Taric ult's keeping him alive so he can go as deep as he needs to. So both teams played up to what we expected them to do.
Yeah, they definitely did. And even though that it's easy to point at the Baron and be like, oh God, why did you do that? That's why you lost. FlyQuest does a lot of this stuff in their wins, and they're something like 11-3 match score. So it works for them a lot of the time. You can get bitten by the best teams when they have properly prepared for you. They're expecting it. They're reacting very quickly. They have good vision, things like this. So it's harder to get away with these risky plays against the best teams. Had that paid off there, that likely would have been kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, allowing them to snowball this game to a victory. It backfires. They lose off it. But that's kind of the risky game you play when you play FlyQuest style.
Yeah, I mean, these guys certainly happy to take risks. This one didn't pay off, but, flip the coin came up tails. Unlucky there. Want to move us forward to our player of the game. Jensen, no surprise, I think, for us, but did want to pull up the graphic and give him the props as he was, the player who was finally the carry in the fights, and he got some very massive multi-man ultis and was, highest damage of the team. I think it's kind of apparent why it's him.
Right, he had the most control in any of the lanes early on. He obviously had the CS lead over High, and then in the team fights, there were a number of times where he kited out and barely stayed alive over the course of the fight and stopped it from being a total whitewash on the side of FlyQuest.
Yeah, especially when so many of the fights started with Sneaky dying instantly.
Moon. Oh, Moon was brutal that game.
So much of the damage requirement is from him, and it was kind of hilarious seeing Sneaky build the GA third, which I think was actually pretty smart given how things were going. Ma was not going to save him. He's getting overkilled by so much. So, a lot of the onus was on Jensen to be able to get the damage done and to carry the team fights, and he was equal to the task. Looked great.
Yeah, and you can see why having mixed damage, we talked about it earlier on the analyst test, mixed damage is really important so that the armor stacking one can still out of the mid laner. Auto mentioned to Smoothie, the ultis were good, but obviously Jensen was a bit more important. So now we're going to see if FlyQuest can even up the score against Cloud9 when we return. So don't go anywhere. Bye with you.
Who has the highest power level on their team?
Me.
Me?
Me.
You? Oh,
That makes sense. We have C9 versus C9, so same team.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, he skips the steps. Presence. Impact can't get himself flashed through. The kickback as well, and just a few more hits. Impact is going to be going down by the buckler. No, the hit from Moon.
I saw him with the plant.
Yep.
They're just going.
Going back, puts down the ultimatum. They can't get actually in range of the turret for the ultimatum. Collateral damage misses for Contracts.
Look, Mouse.
I'm look Poppy. I'm out of the fight.
Nice, good job.
Impact all the way into the fight, and the team can't respond. Moon's gonna be next. Contracts with the flash out, but that leaves him out to dry. Double kill coming in for Contracts before he goes down valiantly, and it does leave the team. The re-engage, the counter Cassiopeia comp that C9 is trying to use, does just that.